When Andrew's life collided with the alien world, he never expected to become the center of an intergalactic conflict. One simple mistake sleeping with the wrong alien sister would set off a chain of events that would change everything. Dyra, the innocent and gentle alien woman, was meant to be his love, but things didn't go according to plan. Now, his life is entangled in a dangerous game of lust, power, and betrayal. But the real twist: the sister he was meant to be with, Eden, wasn't the sweet, naive woman he thought she was. Eden is a force of nature, ferocious, seductive, and hungry for more than just Andrew's love. She wants to claim him, body and soul, for reasons beyond his comprehension. And Dyra, she won't let Andrew go without a fight. Caught in the middle of two worlds, one alien, one human, Andrew finds himself on the brink of losing everything. In a universe where desire can make you or break you, Andrew must navigate a treacherous path. The wrong choices could cost him more than just his heart. They could cost him his very life. Andrew had always considered himself an ordinary guy. He worked a regular job, had a few friends, and led a life that, while not glamorous, was his own. His world revolved around the simple things: family, friends, and a steady routine. That was until the day he met Dyra. It all started like any other day, but everything changed when he encountered the stunning alien woman at a party, a chance meeting that felt far too surreal to be real. She was unlike anyone he'd ever seen. Her beauty ethereal, her presence commanding. There was an air of mystery around her, something that drew him in, almost against his will. It wasn't long before he found himself captivated, his emotions spiraling in a way that made him forget everything else. Dyra was calm, collected, and full of compassion. She was gentle and soft, the kind of woman who could make any man feel wanted. Andrew didn't know it at the time, but he was stepping into a world far beyond his comprehension. Dyra wasn't just a woman, she was part of an alien species with powers and desires beyond his wildest dreams. And when the unexpected happened, when Andrew got the wrong sister pregnant, the consequences were just beginning to unfold. It wasn't long before Andrew learned that Dyra wasn't the only one vying for his attention. Eden, Dyra's sister, arrived with a presence so magnetic, it was as though the air itself shifted. She was everything Dyra was not: wild, untamed, and as dangerous as she was beautiful. The moment Eden laid her eyes on Andrew, the game changed. No longer content to let her sister have him, Eden made it clear that she was there to claim him for herself. At first, Andrew was caught in the whirlwind of emotions that both women invoked in him. He thought he could handle it after all. He was just a regular guy, wasn't he? But as Eden's powers started to take hold of him, things became murkier. Her allure wasn't just physical, there was a force behind it that Andrew couldn't resist. Eden wasn't just looking for love. She was looking for domination, and she was more than willing to do whatever it took to make him hers. It was then that the true nature of their species revealed itself. Dyra and Eden weren't just alien women, they were bound by forces Andrew couldn't understand. Their desires, their needs, and their instincts were primal, and it was only a matter of time before he would have to choose between the two. But even as the pressure mounted, Andrew found himself trapped in the middle of a war, one that wasn't fought with weapons or violence, but with emotions, desires, and power. Dyra wanted to protect him, to keep him safe from Eden's darker desires, but Eden, she was relentless, and in the midst of this alien drama, Andrew could feel himself being pulled further into their world. His own identity, his desires, and his very future were at risk. His life, as he knew it, was slipping through his fingers. Caught between two alien women, each hungry for something different, Andrew's decision became more difficult with every passing day. What was at stake wasn't just his heart, it was his very humanity. And the more he learned about their world, the more he realized that nothing was as simple as it seemed. In the end, Andrew would have to decide: would he succumb to the pull of Eden's dark, seductive power, or would he choose Dyra, the woman who showed him tenderness and care, and fight against the forces that threatened to tear his world apart? No matter the choice, one thing was certain: his life would never be the same. Andrew had always believed in the simple things: a quiet life, a steady job, and relationships that made sense. He never expected to cross paths with something so extraordinary, something that would force him to confront the impossible. That all changed when he met Dyra. It happened on an ordinary night, during a party he attended at a friend's house. He was there for the usual reasons: casual conversation, some drinks, and a much-needed break from his usual routine. But when Daira walked into the room, everything else faded into the background. She wasn't just beautiful, she was otherworldly. The moment their eyes met, a strange energy pulsed between them, something Andrew couldn't explain. Her beauty was undeniable, but there was an air of mystery about her, something that made him feel drawn to her without even knowing why. Daira was calm, collected, and almost ethereal, but there was a warmth in her smile that felt familiar. She seemed to glide through the crowd, an aura of grace surrounding her. Andrew couldn't look away, his gaze fixated on her as if he were in a trance. When she spoke to him, her voice was like nothing he had ever heard before, soothing, melodic, and comforting. She didn't feel like a stranger. It felt as though they had known each other for years. Though Andrew was sure they hadn't, she casually asked about his life, and for reasons he couldn't explain, he opened up. It felt easy, natural, even though he was typically reserved. They had so much in common, and the connection between them felt immediate, undeniable. By the end of the night, they were talking as if they had been friends for a lifetime. The hours slipped by unnoticed. He felt a pull towards her, something deeper than mere attraction. There was a calmness in her presence that made him feel safe, even as the world around him seemed to fade. She wasn't just another beautiful woman. There was something more to Daira, something he couldn't quite grasp, but he couldn't ignore it. As the night came to a close, Daira invited Andrew to her apartment. At the time, it didn't feel like a big deal. They were connecting on a level that was beyond the superficial. She was kind, intelligent, and mysterious, everything he didn't know he needed in his life. He agreed without hesitation, intrigued by the connection they shared. The moment Andrew stepped into her apartment, he could feel something shift. The atmosphere felt different, charged with energy that made his pulse quicken. Daira led him to a quiet corner where they sat, continuing their conversation. It was then that she made her first revelation, something that would turn his world upside down. "You don't know who I really am, do you?" Daira said, her gaze intense, her voice soft but laden with meaning. Andrew chuckled nervously. "You're Daira, right? We met tonight." Her smile was mysterious. "Yes, but that's not all I am. I'm from a place far away, far from here. And we have a connection, you and I. It's why we're both here, in this moment." Andrew laughed, assuming she was joking, but there was a sincerity in her eyes that made him pause. Something about her felt real, more real than anything he had ever known. As the night wore on, the connection between them deepened. There was a bond forming, something he couldn't explain. The conversation shifted, and Daira slowly revealed more of her true self, though in cryptic ways. She mentioned her people, the way they lived, and the importance of their bonds. She was careful with her words, but Andrew began to suspect there was more to her story than met the eye. Before long, they shared a kiss, a moment that felt both inevitable and forbidden, but Andrew wasn't thinking clearly. He was caught up in the chemistry, the allure of her, and the strange but undeniable connection they shared. What followed that night was passionate and intense, something beyond physical attraction. They slept together, the bond between them growing stronger by the second. But as the sun rose and the fog of the night began to clear, a chilling realization set in. The night had not been just a random fling, it had changed everything. Andrew had unknowingly crossed a line that would alter the course of his life forever. Days passed, and the weight of what happened settled in. It wasn't until Daira contacted him again that the truth began to unravel. She confessed to him in a trembling voice that what had happened between them had consequences, real, lasting consequences. She was pregnant, and it was his child. Andrew was shocked. He didn't know what to say. He had only known Daira for a short time, yet their connection felt so much deeper. He wasn't sure how to handle it, but his instincts told him that this wasn't a simple mistake, it was something far bigger. But the real bombshell was yet to come. Daira wasn't the only one involved in his life. Eden, her sister, had been watching from the shadows all along. The moment Andrew had slept with Daira, Eden's plan had already begun. She had set her sights on Andrew for reasons that went far beyond a mere attraction. And now, Andrew would have to deal with the consequences of making the wrong choice. What he didn't know yet was that Eden's hunger for him was far more dangerous than anything he could imagine. Andrew had never experienced a moment like this before, a time when every decision seemed to carry weight far beyond anything he could comprehend. Daira's revelation had left him shaken, but it was just the beginning, the truth of his night. With her, the responsibility now on his shoulders felt suffocating. His life was about to take a turn he couldn't have predicted, even in his wildest dreams. It was a few days after Daira's announcement that Eden arrived. The morning was quiet, a typical day by all outward appearances. Andrew was at work, trying to push aside the chaos of his personal life. The unease, the confusion, the nagging sense that he was in over his head, it all lingered. Then, out of nowhere, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Daira, one that sent chills down his spine. "Eden wants to meet you." Eden, her name alone, caused his heart to race, but this wasn't just a casual meeting. Daira had warned him, Eden wasn't like her. She wasn't soft, and she certainly wasn't forgiving. The sister who had stayed in the shadows, watching everything unfold, was about to make her presence known. Andrew wasn't sure what to expect, but he certainly wasn't prepared for Eden to walk into his life the way she did. Later that afternoon, he was standing at his door, waiting for a woman who he had only heard of in whispers. When Eden finally arrived, Andrew was stunned. Eden wasn't like Daira. She wasn't soft or comforting. She didn't need to be. She exuded power, an energy that immediately made Andrew feel small in her presence. Her beauty was unmistakable, but it wasn't her appearance that caught his attention. It was the way she carried herself, the intensity in her eyes that seemed to strip away all pretense. She was tall, with the same strikingly beautiful features as her sister, but there was an edge to her that Daira didn't have. Her skin shimmered, faintly glowing under the natural light, and her long, silver hair flowed effortlessly down her back. But what truly captured Andrew's focus were her eyes, intense, calculating, and full of something he couldn't quite place. It wasn't just desire, it was something far more primal, something dangerous. "Andrew," she said, her voice low and smooth, a mixture of command and allure. Her gaze locked with his, and for a moment, he felt like he was under her spell. "We need to talk." The words were calm, but they held a weight that Andrew couldn't ignore. He had always considered himself in control of his life, but this was different. Eden didn't ask for permission. She didn't need to. She was in charge, and it was clear that she was used to getting what she wanted. Without another word, she stepped inside his home, moving gracefully, her every movement deliberate. The air seemed to change, charged with something dark and intoxicating. Andrew swallowed hard as he closed the door behind her. "I know what you've been through with Daira," Eden continued, her voice smooth as velvet. "And I know what you think you want, but I'm not her. And I'm not here for some innocent little love affair. I'm here because I need you." Andrew froze. "Need me," he repeated, his voice barely a whisper. Eden's lips curled into a smile that was far from comforting. "You don't understand yet, do you? You will." The weight of her words settled over him. It was impossible to deny the pull Eden had over him. Everything about her felt different, more intense, more raw. Where Daira had been gentle and caring, Eden was unapologetically assertive. And it wasn't just her beauty, it was the way she spoke, the way she held herself. "I don't know what this is," Andrew admitted, his voice strained. "I don't know what you want from me." But Eden cut him off, stepping closer until there was barely any space between them. "You don't get to question this, Andrew. I'm not here to be kind. I'm here to take, to claim. And you're going to help me." Her words sent a shiver through his body. Andrew found himself rooted to the spot, unable to move or speak. There was something hypnotic about Eden, something that made him want to understand, even though every instinct told him to run. "You've already given yourself to Daira," she continued, her voice soft but dangerous. "But I'm not here to fight for you like she will. I'm here to make you mine. I'll be patient, Andrew. But I won't be denied." Andrew opened his mouth to speak, but the words caught in his throat. It was impossible to deny how her presence consumed him. He was supposed to resist, to back away. But the more he heard her, the more drawn he became to her words, to her power. The danger in her eyes, the promise of something deeper, it was enough to make him second-guess everything he thought he knew. Eden was not here for a simple relationship. She wasn't here to care for him. She was here to control him, to claim him as her own. And she wasn't going to stop until she had him, body and soul. Dyra might have thought she was the one, Eden whispered, her fingers brushing against his skin. But I'm the one who will have you. And in that moment, Andrew realized that he was no longer in control of his own fate. He was caught in Eden's web, and there was no turning back. The game had changed, and he was about to learn the true meaning of desire and the consequences that followed. As Eden's lips brushed against his ear, he knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just a fight for his heart, it was a battle for his very soul. Andrew's world had become a dizzying whirlwind of emotions and alien desires, each more overwhelming than the last. The arrival of Eden had been like a storm, and no matter how much he tried to fight it, he couldn't escape the powerful pull. She had over him. The intensity in her eyes, the way she spoke, everything about Eden had a magnetic force, drawing him in closer with each passing moment. It wasn't just attraction. No, it was something far darker, far deeper. Eden wasn't playing by human rules. She didn't love the way humans loved. She didn't care the way humans cared. To Eden, relationships weren't about companionship or affection. They were about control, domination, and possession, and Andrew, he was the prize. I told you, Andrew, Eden's voice broke through. His thoughts, the sultriness in her tone sending a shiver down his spine. She was standing too close, almost touching him, yet not quite. I'm not like Dyra. I don't want you just because you're here. I need you. It's deeper than that. Andrew swallowed hard, his heart pounding in his chest. The way she spoke, so sure of herself, so confident, was unnerving. He had known Dyra's gentleness, her warmth, but Eden was different. She was powerful, and there was no denying it. Every word she spoke held weight. Every glance seemed to strip away another layer of his willpower. And the more time he spent with her, the more he understood. This wasn't about love. It was about something primal, something that Andrew wasn't sure he was ready for. I'm not sure I can. His voice faltered as he tried to find the right words, but before he could finish, Eden stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. You don't need to be sure, Andrew, Eden whispered, her breath hot against his skin. You'll never have to question it again. You'll want this. You'll need this. She reached out, her fingers trailing lightly down his arm, sending waves of warmth through his body. You see, my people, we bond in ways you can't even imagine. The connection between us isn't just about sex, it's about power, it's about ownership. Andrew's breath hitched, his mind scrambling to make sense of the words. Power, ownership, was this what it had come to? Was he simply a tool for her to control? Or was this something he could never fully understand, something beyond his human comprehension? What do you mean? He managed to ask, though he wasn't sure he wanted to hear the answer. Eden's eyes gleamed with something far darker than simple lust. I mean that once we are connected, you won't just be mine in body, Andrew. You'll be mine in every way. Your mind, your soul, your desires, they will belong to me. And I'll make sure you never forget it. Her words were a promise. A terrifying, intoxicating promise. Andrew felt his knees weaken as his heart raced. There was no escaping her, no running from the hunger in her gaze. It wasn't just physical. Eden's power seemed to seep into his very being, taking root in his mind, in his desires. She moved in closer, and Andrew felt a pulse of energy, alien, foreign, and overwhelming. It was as if Eden's very essence was seeping into his skin, filling him with an insatiable hunger. He couldn't deny it. He couldn't fight it. There was something about her that made everything inside him yearn for her in a way he couldn't understand. You'll crave me, Eden murmured, her voice low and husky. The way I crave you. Before he could protest, her lips brushed his neck, sending a rush of heat through his body. The kiss wasn't gentle, it wasn't tender. It was fierce, possessive, as if she were marking him, claiming him as hers. And for a moment, Andrew didn't know if he was ready to fight back anymore. There was something within him that wanted to surrender, wanted to give in to the alien hunger she was offering. You feel it, don't you? Eden continued, her lips trailing along his jaw. You're not just attracted to me, you need me. The bond is forming inside you already. Your body is craving it. Andrew's mind was reeling. He tried to resist, tried to step away, but it was impossible. The more she spoke, the more her words seemed to wrap around him like a web, tightening with every passing second, and as Much as he tried to fight it, he could feel the pull. He could feel it deep in his core, his body aching for her touch, for her dominance. "This isn't what I wanted," he whispered, his voice breaking. Eden's eyes softened, but only for a moment. "It's not what you want, Andrew. It's what you need." She paused, her gaze growing colder. "And you'll learn to want it, to crave it. Because once we're bonded, you won't be able to stop." Andrew couldn't deny it. The way she spoke, the way she touched him, it was too much, too powerful. He could feel his control slipping away, could feel himself being pulled into her orbit, unable to break free. He wasn't sure if he was ready for this. But there was no denying the truth. Eden was right. He couldn't fight it anymore. The hunger was too strong. The pull was too deep. And as much as he wanted to deny it, part of him, perhaps the darkest part, was beginning to embrace it. "You belong to me now," Eden whispered, her voice like a final warning. "And you'll never escape me." Andrew's heart pounded. In his chest, he had just taken his first step into a world where desire wasn't a choice. It was a fate, and Eden was the one to decide it. As she kissed him again, deeper this time, Andrew couldn't help but wonder, was this the beginning of something he couldn't escape? Would he be able to break free from Eden's control, or had he already fallen too far? The days that followed felt like a blur. Andrew could barely keep track of time, each moment melding into the next as he struggled to keep a grip on his life. But there was no escaping it now. Eden's hold on him was undeniable. The more he tried to resist, the more he found himself drawn to her, unable to fight the deep, primal hunger that had begun to take root inside him. Eden wasn't just playing a game. She was claiming him, body and soul. And he was beginning to realize the true cost of his submission. What had started as a simple, unexpected encounter had turned into something much darker. Eden had made it clear from the start, this wasn't just about passion. It was about control, but it wasn't only Eden who was affected by this twisted web of desire. Dyra, the woman Andrew had once felt a connection with, wasn't as passive as he had hoped. She wasn't just going to step aside and let Eden have her way with him. The two sisters, bound by more than just blood, had now become rivals in a battle for Andrew's heart, a battle that had no rules, no mercy. As the days passed, the tension between Dyra and Eden grew. Andrew could feel the weight of it pressing down on him, and he wasn't sure how much longer he could keep up the charade. He was caught in the middle of their war, unable to escape either one of them. Dyra confronted him one evening, her face a mixture of anger and heartbreak. She had always been gentle, calm, but now there was something different in her eyes. It wasn't just the disappointment of a woman scorned, it was something far more complex. "Andrew," she said, her voice trembling with emotion, "why did you let her do this to you? You know what she's capable of. She's not like me. She doesn't care about you. She wants to control you. And you're letting her." Andrew wanted to protest, to explain that he hadn't wanted this, that he was trying to hold on to the person he thought he was before all of this began. But the truth was, he didn't know what was real anymore. "I don't know what to do, Dyra," he admitted, his voice hoarse. "I never thought this would happen. I never thought I'd get caught up in all of this, but Eden, she's different. There's something about her I can't fight." Dyra's expression darkened. "That's what she does. She makes you believe that you need her, that you can't live without her. But that's a lie. She is the one who needs you. She needs to possess you, to make you hers. And once she does, you'll never be the same." Andrew swallowed hard, his heart heavy with guilt. He had always felt that Dyra was different, that she had the kindness and warmth that he needed in his life. But Eden's power, her ability to manipulate him, had been too strong. And now, Dyra was here, pleading with him, but the battle lines had already been drawn. As Dyra's words echoed in his mind, Andrew realized the depths of the situation he was in. The more he thought about it, the more he understood that this wasn't just about love or desire. It was about something far more dangerous. Eden wasn't trying to love him, she was trying to break him. Later that night, Eden appeared at his doorstep, her presence as overwhelming as ever. She didn't waste time on pleasantries, she stepped inside with a determined look on her face, and Andrew could feel the air grow thicker, heavier with the weight of her intentions. "I can feel her," Eden said, her voice colder than usual. "Dyra's influence is still lingering. But it won't last. She can't have you. You're mine." Andrew took a step back, a wave of unease flooding through him. He didn't want this. He didn't want to be her possession. He didn't want to lose himself in this alien hunger, this deep, consuming need that seemed to be eating away at his soul. But when Eden's eyes locked onto his, he knew it was too late. He was already caught in her web. "Please," he begged, his voice shaking, "just let me go. I can't keep doing this." Eden's smile was cruel. "You don't get to decide, Andrew." "Not anymore." Her fingers grazed his arm, and an electric jolt shot through his body, sending a surge of heat to his core. His pulse quickened, and for a moment, he almost forgot the struggle. He almost forgot the pain. "Dyra warned you, didn't she?" Eden continued, her voice low and seductive. "She warned you that you'd never be free of me once I had you. But you're still fighting it. You don't understand. This bond. It's not just about sex, it's about domination. I'm not going to let you go. You'll belong to me, Andrew." In every way, the words sent a chill down his spine, but there was something else there, to something he couldn't deny. A part of him wanted to submit, wanted to fall under Eden's control completely. But there was another part of him, one that still fought against it, that wanted to find a way out, to escape the suffocating hold she had on him. Eden's eyes softened, as though sensing his inner conflict. She stepped closer, her breath hot against his ear. "You'll learn to accept it," she whispered. "You'll learn to want this. You'll crave me, just as I crave you." And in that moment, Andrew realized the terrifying truth. There was no escaping. Eden had already won, and now it was just a matter of time before he lost everything he once thought he understood about himself. As she kissed him again, deeper this time, Andrew felt his will begin to crumble. He was slipping, falling deeper into her grasp, and he wasn't sure he would ever be able to climb out. The consequences of his desire were already clear, and they were more than he could have ever imagined. Andrew's world was spiraling out of control, each passing day pulling him deeper into the abyss that Eden had carefully crafted around him. The more he tried to resist, the more inevitable it became. He could feel himself slipping, his willpower waning as Eden's power over him grew stronger. It was no longer about attraction or desire, it was about control, and Andrew had become a pawn in a game he hadn't understood when he first crossed paths with Dyra and Eden. The constant tug of war between the two sisters was tearing him apart. Dyra, the kind and gentle soul who had first captivated him, seemed to be fading into the background as Eden's presence overwhelmed him. He loved Dyra, he felt that deep in his heart, but the pull Eden had on him was undeniable. She wasn't just beautiful, she was dangerous, and in a way, he found himself craving the chaos she brought. But something inside him, some last shred of resistance, fought against the path that Eden was dragging him down. The connection between them was undeniable, but was this truly the life he wanted? Could he spend the rest of his days as a puppet to Eden's whims, her desires and dominance shaping every part of his existence? The truth was clear. Andrew was standing at a precipice, and the only way forward was through a choice that would define everything. But how could he choose between two alien women, one who represented the warmth and affection he craved, and the other who symbolized power and destruction? It was a cold evening when the final confrontation occurred. Dyra had come to see him one last time, her face etched with concern. She knew the pull Eden had on him, and though her heart ached with jealousy, she wasn't blind to what was happening. The love they shared was strong, but love alone couldn't fight the bond Eden had established. "Andrew," Dyra said softly, her voice breaking the silence that had stretched between them. "You have to decide. I can't keep fighting for you when you're not sure you even want to fight for yourself." Her words hit him like a wave, crashing against the walls he had been building in his mind. Dyra wasn't angry. She was scared. Scared for him, scared for their future, and deep down, Andrew knew she was right. He wasn't sure anymore. His feelings for her had been real, but Eden's hold on him had blurred everything, making it impossible to see clearly. Dyra took a step closer, her hand reaching out to him, as though offering him one last chance at redemption. "I'll let you go, Andrew. If you truly want to be with her, I'll step aside. But you need to make the choice. You can't keep living in the shadows of this of us." Andrew's heart pounded in his chest as he stared at her, torn between the love he felt for Dyra and the magnetic pull of Eden. But then, just as the weight of the decision seemed unbearable, He heard a voice that sounded like both a whisper and a command, deep and dangerous, yet undeniably captivating. "You're mine, Andrew." It was Eden. She had been watching from the shadows, as always. Her words were calm, but they carried an unmistakable edge of finality. She stepped forward, her presence commanding, and Andrew's pulse quickened at the sight of her. There was no mistaking the hunger in her eyes, the hunger to possess, to consume. But this time, something inside him clicked. He wasn't just a passive observer anymore. He wasn't just going to let Eden drag him deeper into her world. Andrew turned toward Dyra, his heart heavy with the knowledge that he was about to make a choice that would change everything. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I never wanted to hurt you, but I have to do this." Dyra's face twisted with pain, but she nodded. She knew, she understood. She had always known that Andrew was never truly hers to keep. And with that understanding, she stepped back, her eyes filling with tears as she walked away. As Dyra left, the weight of the decision hit him. He could still hear her words echoing in his mind. "You have to decide." But as Eden moved closer, a feeling washed over Andrew, a sense of finality, of irreversible change. He had made his choice. He wasn't just surrendering to Eden's power, he was embracing it. He was embracing the chaos, the darkness, the control that she offered. The need to break free from the constraints of his human life had become too strong, too overwhelming to ignore. Eden reached for him, her fingers brushing his skin, sending a surge of energy through his veins. "You've made the right choice," she said, her voice low and filled with triumph. "Now, you belong to me." Andrew stood still, his body frozen as she kissed him with a hunger that seemed to consume everything. It wasn't gentle, it wasn't loving, it was raw, primal, and full of an undeniable force. And in that moment, Andrew knew that his life would never be the same again. But as Eden's kiss deepened, as her hold on him tightened, Andrew realized something chilling, something he hadn't expected. He had given in to the alien hunger, to the desire for control, but in doing so, he had lost himself. And in the farthest corner of his mind, a question began to surface, a question he couldn't ignore, no matter how hard he tried. Had he truly made the right choice? Was this the life he wanted, or had he just sealed his fate by falling into Eden's grasp? As the kiss ended, the answer seemed so far away, just out of reach, buried beneath the weight of his choices. The truth was clear, though. The game wasn't over, not by a long shot. And Andrew's journey into the unknown had only just begun. In the darkness of the room, with Eden's power wrapping around him like a shackle, Andrew couldn't help but wonder, what kind of man would he become now that his destiny was no longer his own?